What's up, YouTube? So on my Cersei Lannister video, someone requested that I do a character spotlight for Littlefinger. Littlefinger is one of the craziest characters in the book and in the show, and I'm going to give you his entire history, his background, a layout of all the crazy things he's done so far, and my thoughts on what his master plan is overall. Basically, everything you need to know about Littlefinger. Let's do it. Littlefinger's real name is Petyr Baelish. House Baelish is a noble house of the Vale, which is that eastern area of Westeros where Lysa lives and Jon Arryn used to preside over. The seat of House Baelish is located on the smallest of the Fingers, which is this tiny set of peninsulas on the north end of the Vale. Petyr's grandfather started their house as a sellsword from Braavos, employed by House Corbray, which is another house of the Vale. When he was knighted, he picked the head of the Titan of Braavos on a light green field as his sigil, and that remains the Baelish family sigil. Petyr's sigil is of his own making. It's a mockingbird on the same green background. He kind of did what Stannis did with reincorporating the Baratheon stag into the heart of the Lord of Light, or whatever, the fiery heart. Same concept. Petyr's father befriended Lord Hoster Tully during the War of the Nine Penny Kings, and this led to Petyr being fostered at Riverrun with Catelyn and Lysa Tully. Petyr was from a much lower house and was raised along Catelyn, Lysa, and Edmure Tully, which were definitely his social betters. Edmure was actually the one who coined the name Littlefinger, referring to the little plot of land on the fingers that his family owns. As they got older, Petyr fell in love with Catelyn, but she always just looked at him like a little brother. When Catelyn was engaged to Brandon Stark, Ned Stark's older brother, Petyr challenged Brandon to a duel for her hand. Brandon was a big guy. He's from the north. He's a big fucking Stark. He easily took out Littlefinger and left him a big scar in the process, and Catelyn had to beg Brandon to spare Petyr's life. After this, Cat cut off all ties with Petyr and burned all of the letters he sent her from that point forward. One night while Petyr was drunk and all depressed over Cat rejecting him, Lysa, who had always been in love with Petyr, snuck into his room and had sex with him, and he even called her Catelyn during. Lysa helped nurse Petyr back to health from his Brandon wound, and they ended up sleeping together again, which got Lysa pregnant. Petyr was later sent away from Riverrun, and Lysa revealed her pregnancy to her father, Lord Hoster, hoping that Hoster would finally allow her to marry Petyr. Hoster wasn't having it, and forced her to drink moon tea, which is it prevents or terminates any pregnancies. Petyr and Lysa maintained a relationship even after she was married to Jon Arryn, and she even convinced Lord Arryn to give Petyr control of the customs of Gulltown, which he increased the profits of by tenfold. His skill at finance landed him with a series of promotions, leading all the way to King's Landing itself, as Master of Coin to King Robert Baratheon. Since then, he's steadily been growing his influences and investments, gaining contacts in the City Watch and multiple different businesses, largely brothels. He was so good at making money that Varys described it to Ned like this: Littlefinger's gold is made from thin air at the snap of his fingers. Okay, before I go any further with this video, I want to go ahead and let you know there's a spoiler warning ahead for anyone who hasn't seen the recent few episodes from Season 4. I'm going to go over some of the things, the major plot involvement that Petyr has, and yeah, you don't want to have this shit spoiled. So if you haven't seen it, you may just want to stop now. You've been warned. Littlefinger is essentially an agent of chaos. He looks past the veil of society and realm and gods and everything else that the rest of the people of Westeros use to convince themselves that there is an order to the world. He looks completely past it and sees gain and loss. He knows what he has. He knows how to get more. He wants everything there is. I think he even flat out came out and said that to Sansa. I think it sums it up pretty well. I want everything there is. He wants to be the top dog. He came from nothing. He was from a low family with a tiny plot of land, no money, no resources. He wasn't strong enough to beat Brandon to get the love of his life. So he overcompensates in a big way and has just been plotting all of these years to come out on top. As for the events that Petyr's been involved with, he convinced Lysa Tully to poison her husband, Jon Arryn, which completely started the events of Season 1. It's the entire reason King Robert came to Winterfell to offer Ned the job of Hand of the King. After this, he convinces Catelyn to take Tyrion prisoner, which is another thing that basically sparked the entire war. It led the chain of events. That's why Jaime came after Ned and led to Joffrey beheading him, etc. I mean, Littlefinger's essentially behind the War of the Five Kings. Aside from his intelligence and his skill at amassing large amounts of money from almost no money, Littlefinger's main asset is his ability to stay completely under the radar. Nobody ever even knows that Littlefinger's a power player in the situation. That's why he's able to do so much, is because nobody expects him. He's the least possible candidate, you know? I mean, and he knows it. He knows how anonymous his name is and his status is. So, I mean, he can basically make these huge power plays with nobody ever being able to lead it back to him. I mean, just look at what he's done so far. He came from being the son of the most minor lord of the Vale to all the way up to the master of coin of King's Landing. At this point, he basically has control over the Vale with marrying Lysa Tully. And, I mean, he's well on his way to accomplishing his goals, whatever fucking crazy goals they are. He even makes moves solely to confuse his opponents, solely to confound them and stop them from ever figuring out who's really behind things. Cunning, devious, and discreet. A man of ambition from humble beginnings, Littlefinger may be the most dangerous man in Westeros. So this pretty much wraps it up for my Littlefinger character spotlight. Check the links to the side. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And definitely suggest more videos for me to do. Let me know what you want to see, and I'll make sure to put out the content. This video was from a viewer request, so, you know, this is proof that I listen to y'all. Anyway, take it easy, guys.